Greetings, geeks! Welcome to episode 525 of Geeks in Space. I am Rob Commander Taco Malda, and since nothing else is happening today, you've chosen to hang out with me, and I've chosen to hang out with two of the greatest geeks you're ever going to meet. I got Chris DeBona.
Oh, I think you said greatest geeks. I'm just a geek.
You're just a regular geek?
A geek of the common geek.
And Rob Roseboom.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm the greatest on some list. I'm just not sure which list.
You'll always be the greatest in my heart. So
okay, well that's a list, I suppose.
There you go. That's a good list. It's a short one. Is there actually going to be like a press conference about the real news, like right now? Is that actually happening?
So this is what I heard, that the White House pool had gone over to Walter Reed Methadone Clinic and hospital, and they were going to do something.
Did you know that when I lived there, when I jogged, I would jog right past Walter Reed?
Oh, that's neat. You know, my uncle, my mother's brother, he does rounds there, or he did back when he was a younger doctor.
In the day.
Yeah, he was a Navy commander who was a doctor. So there you go.
That area had like the highest density of women with PhDs or something of any county, like in the country. You were in
like
it was like a weird
that part of Maryland, right? Right in the corner near DC.
Everybody in our neighborhood either worked at Walter Reed or worked for the government.
The NSA.
Yeah, in some sort of capacity that they would be like, yes, I work for the government.
I'm not at liberty to tell you which. No, I work at NASA. That's it.
Yep,
I work in Maryland at NASA.
It was funny because when we first moved there, we were not hip to the lingo, and we were not hip to the fact that when somebody says I work for the government and doesn't like have anything appended to that you shut up.
Well, you don't shut up. You understand.
Right. Well, yes, but you understand.
NSA, NRO, one of the other TLAs.
So as somebody who struggles with small talk, my next thing would be like to ask a friendly question, like, "Oh, where's your office?"
What
or
part of the government?
Or what? Or "Oh, neat," because and that is not what you do in that situation. Because only.
Have you ever poisoned anyone? What's your favorite piece of spy gear?
Yep,
that's great.
Yep.
So in Northern Virginia, the National Reconnaissance Office has an enormous complex. It's like these three really big buildings. And the reason they got found out is because they're a federal agency, so they weren't paying state taxes on their buildings, which is completely reasonable. Right. But like the local like tax authorities are like, we have these buildings. Where's the money? And so there was like this news cycle about local tech company does not pay taxes to the state, and then they're like, listen, we're the NRO, you idiots.
Right. We have to have a talk about good and bad.
They're like, ixnay on the X-tay.
Okay, so I don't want to like spend the next half hour talking about Trump, but I just want to say one thing here, which might make me the stupidest human being alive.
Wait, the steak guy?
Yeah. Or it might make me like just saying the most obvious thing imaginable, which is I saw the picture of Trump like waving from inside of his tank, the Beast. Waving from inside of that. I saw the picture and saw many people bitching about him putting Secret Service lives agents at risk by riding in this car, which sure, no problem. But at that point in the weekend, I was pretty burnt out and not willing to follow up. So I assumed what turns out in hindsight apparently to be totally wrong, which was I assumed that he's getting in the car because he went home. And it was not until this morning that I realized that they just went out for cheeseburgers or something and then came home back to the hospital.
Yeah.
No, they didn't even do that. They just went around the block.
They just made a circle like around the parking lot. Yeah.
They said howdy to the Proud Boys, and
told them to stand back and stand by.
But this whole stunt did make me think, if God forbid he takes a turn for the worse, if this will be
God?
something like Weekend at Bernie's eventually.
Yeah.
Right. Where if things go really bad, or if they have to put him on a ventilator, if they'll just throw him in the car anyway and drive him around and have someone wave his hand with a stick or something, so everyone knows he's okay. I guess I'm wondering how far they're going to take it.
Well, have you ever seen the movie Dave, starring Kevin Kline?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a good one.
Somebody actually tweeted that one at me earlier today, that there was that there's a Dave scenario, but I gotta tell you, I don't think that there's anybody alive who can do a Trump impression that would fool you, because he's just so out there. Like, yeah, at a distance, sure, but nobody that opens their mouth is going to fool you with their Trump impression. Like, there's too much random coming out of that hole.
Yeah, so I agree. I mean, the right thing to do was he should have, especially when he went on the dexamethasone, he should have said, okay, Pence is acting president. I can't think of anything that would have been better for his campaign than him saying, hey, I'm going to do the responsible thing. Pence is acting president. Pay real close attention to the VP debate. His base would have loved it, and he could have just chilled. He didn't have to go through all this trouble. Hell, while Pence was acting president, he could have pardoned all of him for all of his federal crimes.
That's right.
He could have gotten a lot done.
Busy week.
To heal the nation.
Yep.
But it's just like his weak desire to hold on to every tendril of power for as long as possible. It's not good for the country. It's not good for him. It's not good for anybody. It's baffling.
The one that got me today over the weekend too was they released the two photos, which were they looked at the EXIF data and it was like, oh yeah, you took them 10 minutes apart. Right. So you literally, first of all, you've never worked on a Saturday in 4 years. You have never worked on a Saturday. We get it. Second of all, you took two pictures of yourself holding a Sharpie in both of them, holding with the same piece of paper in both, where you apparently just moved to like a different room.
And he took off his jacket in one, right?
Yep, he took off his jacket.
Like, all right, take one with the jacket on, and now this will be later in the day. I took my jacket off. Take that one.
Mm-hmm. But
and
again,
he's not wearing enough bronzer. I mean, really,
that's true. He's slightly less orange than normal.
Standards,
But I guess this goes back again to always greedy, never smart. If it would have just been one picture, nobody would have said a thing. It just would have been, yep, cool, he's out of bed, and then the left would have freaked out because they're scared of him, and the right would have cheered because they worship him as a deity. But, we could have moved on with our day. But they got greedy. They took two pictures to prove how strong he is. He worked a long, hard day.
This just gets back to the conversation we had when this news first broke. It's about how important it is for him to show that he's stronger than this fake virus, right? I mean, that's what all of this is about. That's what the driver on the block's about. That's what all those pictures are about. Yep. This is exactly, this is as intended. This isn't, in his eyes, this isn't a mistake. This is what his base demands. So,
well, may you live in interesting times, I suppose. All right, well, let's see. I'm sure we won't come back to this in any way, shape, or form in the next 20 minutes. Rob, you shared, I think it was you, shared a list of AI art, which I thought was actually really neat, although I did feel like it was kind of a cheater because the guy was like working, which I love. I love the idea of using like a human coupling with an AI to create something. I think that's awesome. Yeah. I think that's the right answer.
Basically, he uses the AI as a muse, basically.
Yeah.
Right. So the AI isn't really making the art, and saying muse is being generous. Basically, the AI just generates, a description of some fictitious piece of art, and then he recreates it. So
it's actually not that different if you think about it from like a slightly more specific version of the Brian Eno / Strategies deck. You remember that?
I remember it a little bit.
Oh, well, so,
Not a
okay,
lot.
Brian Eno was, I mean, you guys know who Brian Eno is,
We
but
know who Brian Eno is.
he was one of his studio strategies was he had a deck of cards that he made with oblique strategies, which is things like, turn it up. It's all like really arbitrary, like turn it upside down or throw it away or like all these like just arbitrary instructions. And when he would get hung up in the studio, he would draw cards off of his oblique strategies deck, which would give him some sort of thing to try. And this is just kind of one step beyond that, I guess, or maybe 2 or 3 steps beyond that. But I actually really like this. In college, I did a number of presentations and art projects and stuff based on generative art. There you go. And
it's a mug that has them.
It's available in many forms.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually Nate had his signature for years and years was just randomly fed from Brian Eno oblique strategies. When Nate, you know how for many years Jeff just had his sig file of quotes from his friends. Nate had oblique strategies.
Because his friends are the same friends as Jeff, and he doesn't like it.
There would be some redundancy. Anyways, I thought some of the art was neat. I think this is a good way forward. Neat. I used to play with a bunch of like music generators in college, and that was always fun. I liked getting little melody snippets, and then letting the machine generate things at random, and then you just kind of curating. I think that's a cool way to do that sort of stuff. But anyway, it's the 40th anniversary of Ethernet, and I put up a nice little story with some stuff about that. They talk about how it beat out Token Ring and why. It's
before we go on the Bob Metcalf train.
Yes.
I wanted to point out there's a project at a small Mountain View based company, Google, called Magenta, and they have music and art based projects on top of TensorFlow, and it's actually kind of fantastic. So when you said I'm making art with AI, I was like, oh, I wonder if he's using this stuff, and because they do some incredible stuff, man.
He must be using this kind of stuff, right? I mean, I can't imagine.
He's not. He's doing something else where it's just like he's probably using GPT-2 to tell him why is my screen flicky again?
You've gone all gray, man. It's happening.
Oh, this is so frustrating.
It's the problem with the technology.
Start something.
Actually,
I was talking slow as a gag.
That's fine. Technology has really failed me in dumb ways this weekend. The one that made me the most angry is that I had insomnia, so I went and sleep in my office, and my monitor has some stupid RGB shit on the back that I never got around to turning off. But I never noticed because it's I usually am not in my office in full pitch darkness. But if I try to go to my office to sleep, there's this RGB shit spilling off into my office. So I unplugged the monitor because my computer was off. And then this morning I came in to boot up to start recording, and my machine just began blue screening and just shitting itself left and right. Because, if you unplug your monitor, and I have 2 monitors, it should have been fine. Technology's awesome. That's what I'm saying.
It's cool, for sure, dude. But,
all right. Ethernet. It's 40.
Ethernet. Bob
Metcalf. Good on him.
Okay, it's 1980, and you're sitting in your lab, and you need to communicate. And you don't want to use Token Ring. What do you do?
You don't want to.
What do you do?
Paper airplanes. Yeah. So
one of the things I really liked about Ethernet was how they adopted the Hawaiian CB radio sort of manual protocol to make sure they weren't stepping all over each other when they were using their ham radios. And they adapted that and made that part of the signaling protocol for Ethernet, so that it wouldn't, send a packet over a packet. It's just the exponential back off. I mean, it was a neat technology. It's still neat.
I mean, for what it is, yeah. I mean, it's super clever. It's
super clever.
I always like the notion of the fact that they called it Ethernet. Like, I was older than I needed to be when I figured out why it was called Token Ring. The name is pretty descriptive of how it works, and so is Ethernet. And I just kind of love I just kind of love, well, I'm going to throw my packet into the ether and pray. That's kind of my model for everything. The article also mentioned the OSI 7-layer model,
my God.
which makes me wonder if I can still find the OSI 7-layer burrito. Not only could I find it, but Firefox auto-completed it for me. All right, the OSI 7-layer burrito. Let's see. It might be a different image than back in the day. I'll post it. But that was one of the early days of Slashdot stories, actually. I remember posting the OSI burrito and laughing about that. Probably in 1998, 1997. All right, let's see. I only had a couple more. Rob, you posted, I think it was you, the Graphene chip. That might have been you, Chris.
Chris.
That generates power.
Well, it doesn't really. It's kind of like in the same way that a solar panel generates power. It uses the motion of atoms, sends them through a collection mechanism. In this case, a couple of diodes, and then it gets a picowatt of energy from Brownian motion of atoms. Which is technically in violation of what Feynman says, but I actually think there's energy coming into the system from the surrounding environment in the form of heat, cosmic rays, that kind of thing. So I'm actually not worried about violating the second law of thermodynamics.
You spend a lot of time worrying about that, Chris?
Well, don't you? I mean, come on. I mean, we're not in a closed system, man.
How else is Chris going to hold existence together if he doesn't think about this kind of stuff, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, the Chrisocentric model of the universe, depends on it.
There's a lot of pressure when you're hanging out in Chernobyl.
There's a lot of energy from Devonian motion.
Devonian motion,
yeah.
Right?
We have to keep that up, man. I like that a lot. Yeah, no, so I thought it was really fascinating. So graphene is basically an atom thick sheet of carbon atoms, right, that are interlocked. So they're finding all these really interesting effects from it, anyway, because we talked a lot about nanotubes and buckyballs early in our careers, but when they finally were able to figure out how to sheet them, it got really, really interesting. That's all.
Okay, so Ambalu says that there's a glitch in the video and they're deep faking the president, man.
Oh, yeah. So apparently there was a cough. Did you hear about this? There was a cough that he had during his little speech. And here, I'll find it and load it up here. And people are like, oh, that's classic Adobe Premiere Pro morph cuts. Because it shows him dot, 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 like this.
Yeah.
But you don't see a cough. You don't hear a cough. So, yeah. Trump cough morph.
Well, I'm sure he's fine.
I mean, I've seen videos of deep fakes that it would technically be possible, correct?
For sure.
But,
Well, that's the problem is that...
I try not to run down the...
Here's the frame
tunnel right that far.
The ultimate problem with this, and I think I actually said the exact same thing with this on Friday, which is that when you start your administration off on day one by lying to the humans about how many people are clearly standing in a photograph, and then you spend the next 4 years lying about everything, even sitting in front of people in a room talking with a camera pointing at you, even without the words, nobody believes him anymore. Or not nobody, half of America just doesn't believe him.
When your communication strategy is based a lot on the emperor's new clothes, it gets problematic, right? So
that's a lot better than my original strategy of basing my communication strategy on the emperor's new groove, which required me to dress up in a llama costume. That didn't work.
Okay, are you ready? I'm gonna share this video here. Oh damn. Okay.
You're gonna try.
See this one here.
Yep.
So I'm gonna hit play.
All
I don't
right.
know if you're gonna be able to see it.
Can you zoom?
I don't know if I can, honestly. There. Did you see it?
I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. That's compression artifacts.
You know, the thing,
Whatever.
yeah, so you're absolutely right, though. It's like his base is used to being told what to see. You know, they're told 5 lights, they see 5 lights.
Well, and the other side has
the
been
biggest
told that no matter what,
inauguration
he's
ever.
lying.
It's the biggest inauguration ever. You know.
Yeah, that we live in a bifurcated reality, man.
Yeah.
All right, so SETI.
So it doesn't matter if we think that he is clearly sick and he should just take a break for Christ's sake. Let Pence do his damn job. You know,
it's the same thing as the Proud Boys stand back, stand by thing. He may have very well just misspoke. He may literally be too stupid to know who the Proud Boys are. He also may totally know and have been completely aware of what he was saying at the time. But everybody reads into it whatever they want to read into it. He's either the Antichrist or he just told them to stand down. And or if you're a Proud Boy, he just told you to arm up and prepare for civil war.
Yeah, I just think he's extraordinarily good at manipulating people, and that's where his genius ends. I don't think he knows about anyone an arm's length away from him. I don't think he cares about any of those people. I literally think he just misspoke and truly doesn't know who the Proud Boys are because, you know, he isn't meeting them that day, so no one has to tell him who they are. Yep. You know, I think there's just so much ignorance that other than being able to manipulate people and talk some bullshit.
I think that what it comes down to is
his power lies.
I've had 2 children now, and I've watched them learn the concept of object permanence. And I think that he just doesn't have like object permanence. Like if it's not in front of his face and telling him he's great, then it's a lie and it doesn't exist.
I don't know. I think you guys may be giving him a little too much credit. You know, there's a strain of maliciousness in him that is not explainable by the innocent object permanence failures. You know, so.
Well, mostly I just like that he's like a walking Rorschach test. You know, he reflects back.
Yeah, he sure is.
Whatever you want to think, he reflects it back at you.
Undersalted boiled chicken breast. You know, no taste except for that which you bring. You know, if you bring some hot sauce, he's going to taste like the hot sauce.
Right on.
You know,
so
astronomers, peri sauce, it'll taste like peri sauce.
Man, you know, I tried to make peri sauce this weekend. It turned out like garbage.
You know, so, you know, I bet you if you go to Carytown in Ann Arbor, you could pick up some Nando's peri sauce.
You can. And I was trying to replicate it, and it did not work because I did not have the right kind of red pepper. So, all right. Astronomers want to build a SETI observatory on the moon. The interesting thing about this is that NASA spec'd it out back in the day to a certain extent. And it was always kind of considered impossible. But now with advances in robotic technology, theoretically, you could actually do it with robots and not hiring Sam Rockwell clones to go hang out there. Spoiler alert for Moon. You've both seen Moon, right?
Yeah, we've seen it. Thanks for ruining it for the channel, though.
Yeah. Sorry, Ambalo.
Although I do wonder if they've cleared it with their lizard folk and Nazi neighbors who are already on the moon.
Yep.
And yeah. I liked the Nazi moon movies. Those were good.
Iron Sky.
They had a second one.
Yeah.
I've never finished it though.
Yeah, it's rough.
You didn't miss anything.
I
really like the actress who plays the main character though. She's really
it's fun. A lot like Velocipaster, which is if you're going to make a movie, you know, okay, so The Room is bad, but trying to be good. The Room is great. You should absolutely watch it. It'll blow your mind.
No.
I'm telling you, man, and this is like I like bad movies, but this isn't.
I didn't even watch the parody of the making of The Room.
The Room is better than the parody.
Nope.
The parody's good, but The Room is great.
I'm out.
All right, drop the mic, man. But the problem with Velocipaster and with Iron Sky and with a lot of those movies is that when you go into it trying to emulate the bad movie without, like, you walk a line then because you're held to the standard of being a bad movie and you're held to the standard of actually being a funny movie.
I'd say the second one, that's true. I'd say the first one, they were trying to live up to their little spec trailer fun.
For sure.
know, so.
But you see that with the best example I think is Sharknado, where each Sharknado movie just leans farther and farther into the absurd, and they get worse and worse as they go. Even though I've seen them all.
Yeah, these are like internet-based movies, and it's like it just doesn't. It's no good.
Right. They go further and further, and they started with Sharknado.
Right.
So that like you have to get pretty far out there.
The thing about the first Sharknado movie is that at least it had some element of taking itself seriously. It was taking itself, like, not a lot, but it had just enough to make you feel like it was people honestly trying to make a movie that mostly didn't work. Yeah, Ambaloo is right. The Riff Tracks version of The Room is funny. But The Room itself is just extraordinary. It's amazing.
You know, I watched Twilight once. The Riff Tracks version of it was the only way I saw it, and it was, and I watched all three of them, yeah,
or four,
and
I don't
it
even know.
I think there was a fourth one, but I couldn't do it.
I think they
but I was
Potter
on a flight to Dubai. It was 15 hours long, and so I decided I was going to try out. You know, everyone slags on Twilight. I should do my part and watch the Riff Tracks version of it. So I watched the 3 Riff Tracks versions, and
it's bad.
It was a really long flight, man.
It's bad. It's really bad. But I'm telling you, The Room is a different bucket. You're just going to have to take my word for it. It's surreal. Okay. So anyway, astronomers, they might put the because they think they can use robots now, that changes the economics of building a robot satellite observatory on the dark side. Sure. But also they can do it on the South Pole. So there's some interesting stuff there. We're now closing in on 30 minutes, but we still haven't talked about the first thing that I put up, which I wanted to talk about, which is the Wi-Fi controlled finger for pressing Yubikeys.
Yeah, I thought that was I've thought about this. This is a fun idea,
right?
You know, here, let me share the tab with the video. Here we go. So look at the red finger up top there. Here we go. Ready?
Security thwarted.
Good times.
I remember, man, who was
it? Can I also point out, let's talk about this guy's desktop. I see an iPod Nano or Shuffle over here in the upper left-hand corner.
Looks like a first-gen Apple TV, maybe?
Yeah, I see this crazy custom DOS keyboard thing. He's got some serial connectors. Serial connectors here on the right. I have no idea what that disky thing is, but there's a really ancient mouse.
Isn't that a mouse
in the upper right-hand corner? It might be, but it's weird, man. But yeah.
Also, it's nice to see somebody whose cable management is worse than my own.
Yeah, mine's looking pretty bad right now. I had to rewire some stuff this week, and I was like, screw it. I don't need to reattach things. You know. So.
What back in the day, I think the first time I ever saw one of those, weren't they called nubby keys?
Yeah, we call them nubbies.
Yeah.
Sure.
I can't remember. I think Fitz might have been the first one that I ever saw use one of those. But no, the idea that you would do it this way, that tickles me tremendously. It's like, hey, we came up with this great security system. Why don't we put it on Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I use mine on the regular. I've got 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4 that I rotate through.
Yeah. Gets the job done. Okay.
And I mean fingers, not Yubikeys.
You only have 4 fingers?
Everyone only has 4
fingers.
Thumb. A thumb is not a finger.
Yeah, but you got 2 hands.
Yeah, but I wasn't differentiating by hand. Because when you're talking about fingers, it doesn't matter, right? You're not left or right-handed on your fingers unless you include the thumb.
Yeah, but you still have 8 fingers, no matter how you're
word semantics. I know you're a chirality supremacist, Rob, but not all of us. Some of us accept people the way they are.
Stand by, and stand down, Chris.
Good times.
There's going to be a glitch. We should figure out a way to make all of us glitch out so that there can be controversies that we're all AI.
Am I still glitching?
We're in the Matrix, man.
Am I still glitching?
Your gray boxing seems to have faded.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Well, apparently there's a Slack outage. I don't know if you saw this.
Really?
Yeah, mostly on the East Coast, I guess. But yeah, of the United States for all of our international watchers.
Do you think we've ever had anybody? Let's exclude Canada for practical purposes. America's hat.
Hey! Canada's awesome.
I agree.
They got
However,
things figured out up there. They got poutine and they figured out COVID.
Look, I agree with you
Allegedly.
100%. Allegedly, but I can get in my car, and if allegedly, I can be in Canada, in almost the same amount of time as I could like bake a nice dinner. Like I'm very close to Canada, so.
So wait, I need to ask a question.
Yes.
Is it like a brisket where you have to bake it for 3 to 5 hours?
I'm not thinking like crock pot kind of recipe.
Okay.
Let's say instant pot recipe. A good instant pot recipe might take
It could take a long time.
Might take you an hour.
I assumed you meant all the sides and doing the mise en place and everything else, not the actual cooking of your meal. Just it's prep.
Yeah, the prep.
Wait. Okay, so are we talking about the time to prep the meal is how long it takes for you to get to Canada, or the time you cook the meal after prep is completed, and not a crock pot, but maybe an instant pot meal, which is
How about if I just say I can be in Canada in 45 minutes if I didn't have to go through like a security checkpoint?
Nice. Wait, why would you have to go through a security checkpoint? It's Canada. They're very welcoming to Americans. Are you saying that there's something that made Americans?
I just was going through the whole thing how I was saying I'm going to count Canada because I can be there in 45 minutes, and now you're trying to tell me that you're negating your own point.
I'm just giving you trouble to give you trouble.
That's fair. I feel Windsor is essentially a suburb of Detroit to a certain extent. That's not.
That is true.
That is not exactly true, but like, if you live in this area, sometimes you cross the border and go to Canada. Not anymore.
So I would point out that Windsor ranks 51st overall as the 51st most dangerous city in Canada.
Suburb of Detroit.
Yeah. But 51st, I mean, that's pretty low. I mean,
it's all the folks going over to gamble and enjoy the lax prostitution laws.
Right. You can drink at 18.
Some people call it the worst place on earth, like Vice does.
You can drink at 18 there. So people in Michigan drive across the border to drink. And then they totally forget their driver's license. And then when they're coming back from the bachelor party, are asked to sing or to recite the Pledge of Allegiance to prove that they're an American. And they can't do it because they're too drunk. And we won't name names, but it's somebody we all know's little brother.
So Stephen Colbert once called Windsor, Ontario, Canada's rectum.
Ooh.
So that's not good for good old Windsor.
Look, I'm not
probably not on their like tourism board, like not on their ads or anything. But
you just flashed right. Again, Chris.
I know. I think I know what's causing it.
Ooh. Do you have multiple devices fighting for control of your camera?
No, that's not the problem. I think the problem is that when I share, so I'm going to stop sharing because we don't really care. When I share video, right? And so I'm on 2 different Chrome personalities, and Chrome uses WebGL to do all of its hardware-y things, right? And I think I still have that enabled. So
you got 2 choices: disable hardware acceleration, or do what I do, which is I use Firefox for local activities, and anything that I want to share, I would use in Chrome. That way, I know that they're not fighting over resources.
Well, I mean, yeah. I figured something out. So one of the browsers was using hardware acceleration and the other one wasn't. I think they both need to use not or yes to do it well.
Zombie Process says that they're Morse code from the mothership, the gray pulses. He's blinking at Zombie. You're gonna. It's up to you, Zombie. You're gonna have to interpret the flashes. We each do a thing. That's our Morse code, and then
yeah, I should ring up a blinky light,
right?
That blinks in Morse code.
One of your Chernobyl reactor lights.
Save me from Rob. Save me from Rob.
If you look very closely, every time Kristen walks by, she's holding a different letter. It actually spells out.
I guess I shouldn't share this amongst men, but there's a symbol that women are now using to indicate that they're in an abusive relationship in video conferences. So, which I thought was very clever, So
Yeah.
And
it's like the old hobo codes.
And it's important that I don't know what that is for some reason. What are you saying, Chris?
Well, no, it's just, frankly, I think most of our viewership they can Google for it. What?
That's right.
I don't even make it any easier for the bad people.
All right. Well, let's say goodbye. We're at 35 minutes now, and we all have important things to do, like doom scrolling Twitter and speculating about the future of America. Uh-oh. Go
Press
ahead.
secretary just tested positive for coronavirus.
Who did? That girl?
The bullshit Barbie.
McElhenney?
Kaylee McEnemy. Yeah. So,
Oh, really?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Because Conway tested positive too this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Wow.
Well, may you live in interesting times, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Let's say goodbye to Chris DeBona.
See you, everybody.
Rob Roseboom.
Later.
This has been episode 525 of Geeks in Space. I am Rob Commander Taco Malda. Wash your hands and stay away from the press secretary.